Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a hidden process, one that decides which of the world's countless problems actually makes it onto a government's to-do list. I mean, have you ever wondered about this? Why does an issue, say like ineffective medicines, just kind of simmer for years, and then all of a sudden, it becomes the top priority overnight? Let's find out. All right, to really get a handle on this, we've got to start with what the experts actually call this thing. That government to-do list we mentioned, well, it has an official name, the policy agenda. I want you to think of it like a really crowded waiting room for problems. You got hundreds of issues out there, all vying for a spot, but only a select few get called in for what they call serious attention. This is really where the fight for attention happens. Now, you might think this whole process is super logical, right? A government just looks at the data, what's causing the most harm, what's most broken, and then they systematically tackle the biggest problems first. And that sounds great in theory. We call that the rational model. But here's what's so fascinating. Political reality is, well, it's much, much messier than that. It's less like a neat checklist and a whole lot more like a complicated dance of power, timing, public perception, and honestly, just how a problem gets framed. It turns out ideas and power matter just as much, if not more, than the cold, hard facts. So how in the world do we find a pattern in all this chaos? Well, lucky for us, some really smart political scientists have come up with a couple of incredible models for understanding how an issue goes from being totally ignored to being front and center. We're going to look at two of the most powerful ones. First up is the Hall model. You can think of this one like a series of hurdles an issue has to clear. First hurdle, legitimacy. Is this even the government's job to deal with? Second hurdle, feasibility. Do we actually have the money and the tech to fix this? And the final, critical hurdle, support. Is there enough political will and public backing to actually make it happen? An issue has to clear all three of those, or it's probably going to fall by the wayside. Okay, but what if it's not a checklist? What if it's something more fluid? Well, an even more influential model sees this process not as a static set of hurdles, but as three streams constantly flowing through time. This is John Kingdon's three streams model. So first, you've got the problem stream. This is basically how we even notice something is a problem in the first place. Sometimes it's through slow-moving data, like tracking rising obesity rates over years. And sometimes it's a sudden crisis that just forces everyone to pay attention right now. Okay, running right alongside that is the policy stream. Picture this as a kind of primordial soup of solutions. You have experts, academics, advocates, all constantly cooking up and debating different proposals, just waiting for the right problem to come along so they can attach their solution to it. And the third current? That's the politics stream. This is all about the political climate. A new government gets elected, the public mood suddenly shifts, a powerful campaign goes viral. This stream is all about timing, opportunity, and political will. So here's the crucial point. Most of the time, these three streams are just flowing along separately, but every once in a while, they all converge. A pressing problem meets a ready-made solution right at a moment of political opportunity. And Kingdon calls this a policy window, a brief, critical moment where real change is actually possible. Now, I know this might all sound a little abstract, so let's ground it in a real-world example. There's this fascinating case from Bangladesh back in 1982 that shows these three streams converging with stunning speed and incredible impact. So get this, in March of '82, a military coup brings a new leader to power. That is a massive shift in the politics stream. In less than 3 months, a radical new drug policy gets pushed through, banning over 1,600 different medicines. How on earth did that happen so fast? And this quote, it tells you exactly what the problem was. This gets right to the heart of the problem stream. For years, people knew that the country was wasting precious money on drugs that were useless, or even harmful. That problem had been simmering for a long, long time. So when you put it all together, it's like a perfect storm. You have the problem stream, wasting money on bad drugs. You have the policy stream. Health experts already had a solution ready to go, this essential drugs list. And then the politics stream shifts dramatically with the coup. The new leader needed a quick popular win. The three streams crashed together, that policy window flew wide open, and bam, a radical new policy was born. The Bangladesh story is incredible because it shows how a window can open. But it also begs a really important question. Who gets to decide which problems and which solutions are even flowing in the streams to begin with? Who are the gatekeepers? Well, in our world, it's not just governments pulling the strings. The media, both traditional and social, has a huge say in what we think about. You've got powerful industry groups lobbying to protect their own interests. And, increasingly, huge private foundations can literally set the global health agenda just by the sheer size of their budgets, deciding what gets researched and what gets funded. And this brings us to what might be the most subtle and maybe the most important form of power there is. It's not the power to get something on the agenda. It's the power to keep something off it entirely. Political scientists have a name for this: non-decision making. It's when powerful groups are able to shape the whole debate itself. They build a fence around the conversation, making sure that ideas that might threaten their position are never even considered as serious options. It basically stops an issue's journey before it can even begin. As these two political scientists, Bacharach and Baratz, wrote over half a century ago, this ability to define the boundaries of what's even debatable is a profound form of power. Sometimes it's what we don't talk about that reveals the most about who really holds the cards. So let's bring it back to you. Think about an issue that you care deeply about. Is its policy window open right now? Are the problem, the policy, and the politics streams all aligned? And if not, who are the gatekeepers controlling the flow? Because understanding this process, well, that's the first step to creating change.